All right, so let's go. We should be on number 78 is where we're starting today. Everybody should be on number 78. Okay. So 2 months ago, a bicycle shop sold 120 bicycles. Last month, 138 were sold. Find the percent of increase in sales. So I need to find out how much it went up. So there's a simple formula for percent of change. You're going to need to learn this formula because you're going to need to use it. Okay? I'm writing this on notebook paper. Miss Paisel, if you want to pass around some notebook paper so everybody has some, because there's not room to write on all of these, so I'm going to do this all on notebook paper. So if you have notebook paper, get some out. If not, we'll pass them around. Where'd that pack of paper go that we had earlier? Okay. All right, so number 7, so the formula. If I need to know what percent of change is, percent of change equals the difference. Well, it'll help you out if you do. Difference divided by original. You can write that on here too. You can write it up here. Percent of change equals difference divided by original. The chatter needs to stop. Okay, so for this one, I started with 120 bicycles being sold, and I ended with 138 bicycles being sold. So I need to know what the difference of that is. So number 78, I'm going to do on notebook paper because I don't have enough room to write. So I need to know what my percent of change, and that's going to be my difference over my original. Okay? So I'm just going to write P for percent of change. My difference in price. How am I going to figure out the difference in price? Subtracting what, Claudio? I'm sorry, I can't hear you because somebody's using a pencil sharpener that doesn't work. I have to subtract 120 and 138. So I'm going to subtract 138 minus 120. And what was my original amount? What was my original amount that I'm comparing to?
138.
That's my original amount?
Wait, no.
120. So what is 138 divided by 120? I'm sorry, 138 minus 120.
That's 118.
It's 18, not 118. 18. And I'm going to divide that by 120. And what does that give me? Oh, look, we didn't grab calculators. Miss Paisel will bring them around to you. I know, even though it's on the board, that's what they need. What is 18 divided by 120? Those of you who actually have a calculator. 18 divided by 120.
0.15 divided by. No, I got it.
So how do I write 0.15 as a decimal? Or I mean as a percent? I moved the decimal point to the right 2 spaces because I'm multiplying by 100. So this is 15%. So for number 78, we had a 15% increase in sales. Okay? I had a 15% increase in sales. All right, number 79, we have another percent of change problem. Okay. A $200 suit is marked down to $160. Find the percent of markdown. So for 79, I'm going to write my formula. Percent equals difference over original. So let's look at the problem. What's my original? 200. Okay, and this is my sale price, right? So what's the difference? How am I going to find the difference between the original and the sale price? How do I find the difference between 200 and 160? Let's subtract them, right? Difference means subtraction. So I have 200 minus 160, and what was my original price? 200. So what is 200 minus 160? You shouldn't need a calculator for that. 40. And divide that by 200, and that gives me what?
0.2.
And how do I write 0.2 as a percent?
0.02.
No, how do I write it as a percent?
20%. All you
It's 20%. Remember, I have to move the decimal 2 places
and add the 0 behind it.
and add the 0 in there. So it's 20%. Okay? So it is a 20% markdown. Okay? Number 80. All right. Number 80. Danica and Keisha both opened savings accounts on the same day. I'll wait. The only person I should hear talking is Mr. Velez. All right, let's try that again. Danica and Keisha both opened a savings account on the same day. Danica deposited $864 into her account, and Keisha deposited $253 into her account. After 6 months, Danica's account increased to $1106, and Keisha's account increased to $329. What was the percent of increase for each savings account over the past 6 months, and who made a greater percent of change? Okay, so we've got our percent of change again. So we have our percent equals difference over original. Okay, so let's start with Danica. What was Danica's start? What was Danica's start? $864. What was her end? 1106. All right. Let's look at Keisha. What did she start with? She started with 253. And what did she end with? 329. Okay, so I have to use my formula. So my percent equals, how am I going to find my difference? I'm going to subtract 1106 minus 864. That's going to give me my difference over, what's my original? 864. So what is 1106? 1106 minus 864 is what? So I have 242 divided by 864. So listen to what I'm saying and write it down. 242 divided by 864. Claudio, what is it? Since you're so busy showing other people your calculator, I'm assuming you have this done. So we're going to call it 0.28.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's look at Keisha's again. So I have my percent equals, how am I going to find the difference? $329 minus $253. What am I dividing by? $253. That was my original. Okay. So what is 329 minus 253? 329 minus 253 is 76. That divided by 253 gives me what?
0.126.
Nope. $76 divided by 253. No. Guys, watch. Watch. 76 divided by 253.
That's all I got, right?
0.3. Okay, what percent is this?
30%.
This is 30%. What percent is this one? This is 28%. Okay, so let's take what we've done here and go back to the problem. Okay, it asked us what was the percent of change for each account, right? I have 2 question marks. I have 1, 2. So how many answers am I going to have? 2. So this one said Danica. What was her percent of change? 28%. What was Keisha's?
Now until the part where you get up 30.
Keisha was what percent?
30.
30. I don't know what you guys have in your mouth, but you need to make them go away. Okay, which one's greater?
30.
Keisha's is greater. Okay, so Keisha had greater percent of change. Okay? Okay, before we can do the next problem, we need to take a couple of notes. So on a piece of paper, right here, I want you to write I equals PRT, and then we're going to talk about what that means. Pick up your pencil and write. I equals PRT. Okay? This means interest equals principal times rate times time. Okay? It's okay. It's still recording. We're all good. All right, so interest. Let's talk about what these mean. Interest is the amount of money you, in addition to your original amount. Okay? In addition to your original amount, or to the principal. Okay? Principal, and I'm not talking about Miss Johnson. Okay? Your principal is the original amount. It's the original amount of money that you invest or deposit or borrow, which would be a loan or credit. Yep. Sorry, still trying to figure out how this new one works. It's different than the Elmo. Okay? Okay, so rate is the percentage of investment or loan. You have to use it as a decimal in the formula. It's the percentage that you make or the percentage that you have to pay. Okay? If it's a loan. But you always have to convert it to a decimal to use it in the formula. Okay? And your time is the amount of time of the investment or loan expressed in years. Okay? So if I tell you we're going to put money in a savings account for 3 months, how many years is that? How long is 3 months in years? No, that would be 3 years. How do I show 3 months as a year? What fraction of a year is 3 months? 3 over 12. What does that reduce to? Yeah, it's a quarter of a year, right? 3 out of 12 is 1/4 of the year. It's a quarter. Okay? So when I do time, I always have to do it in terms of years. Okay? Now that we've done that, let's look at the problem. Okay? Number 81. Donna plans to put her graduation money into an account and leave it there for 4 years while she goes to college. She receives $850 in graduation money that she puts into an account that earns 5% interest annually. How much will be in Donna's account at the end of 4 years? Okay? So, I don't know what her interest is, but I know what her principal is, don't I? What's her principal? What's the original amount that what's the original amount? $850. What's my rate? What's my rate? 5%. This is my rate. What's my time? 4 years. Here's my time. Okay? So now I can come on number 81 I'm going to put this up here because you guys have the papers in front of you. I've got to write my formula. I equals PRT. I'm doing it on my notebook paper because I don't have room. So my interest is one of the things I'm looking for. So my interest equals, what did we say our principal was? What's our principal? We labeled it. 850. What's my rate? How do I write that as a decimal? No, that's 50%. How do I do 5%? 0.05. Okay. And what was my time in years? It was 4 years. Okay. So then I come and I plug that into my calculator. So I have 850 times 0.05 times 4. And I come up with my interest equals 170. All right, so let's go back and look at the problem. Does that answer the question that it asked me? How much will be in Donna's account at the end of 4 years? Does that answer the question? No? Why not? It went down. So interest, go back and look at our definition of interest. The amount of money in addition to the principal. So the interest is the money in addition to her principal that was in her account. So how would I find out what the total amount is in her account? Right. For her total, it's going to equal her principal plus her interest. So her total equals her 850, which was her principal. You're getting ahead of me there, Connor. 850 plus her interest, which was 170. So her total is what, Connor? 1,020. Okay? So on my paper, how much will be in her account at the end of 4 years? It's going to be $1,020. And I'm going to write over here. 850 was her principal. Plus 170 was her interest. Okay? I'm going to post this on Edsby. As soon as we're done, this recording will go right up on Edsby. So anything that you missed, you can grab. Okay? All right, let's look at number 82. Claudia earned $750 on her money market investment over a 6-year period of time. The interest rate during this period was 5% annually. How much money did Claudia invest in the money market from the start? Okay, so this is another I equals PRT problem. So let's label what we've got. Do we know what our interest is? 750 is my interest. Do I know what my principal is? What is the definition of principal? Okay, so do we know her principal? We don't know the principal. That's what we're trying to find, right? What she invested. What's her rate? What's her rate? Guys, read the problem. I'll give you a hint. It's the only one that's going to have a percent sign next to it.
5%.
And what about time?
6 years.
Ms. Pacel, can you see what these guys are doing? Because they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Guarantee they don't have their notes written down, and they're just too busy over there playing. So what's my time?
6 years. 6 years.
6 years. That's my time. All right, so now I have I equals PRT. So now I need to plug my stuff in. Do I have something to plug in for I? 750. 750 equals, we've already talked about P is what we're looking for, right? So principal times, what's my rate?
5%.
How do I write that as a decimal? No, not 0.5, 0.05. And what's my time?
6 years.
6 years. Okay. So what is 0.05 times 6? .05 times 6 is what? Okay. So I have 0.3p equals 750. So how do I find p? I'm going to divide, right? I got to divide by 0.3. Divide by 0.3. No, it doesn't. 750 divided by 0.3. P equals what? 2,500. So my answer for number 82 is B. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Oh, 83. This one was fun. I'm going to tell you, I screwed this one up the first time I did it. I screwed it up bad the first time I did it. Okay? All right, so find the percent of change. So what's my formula for percent of change? What's my formula for percent of change? We wrote it down. We've used it a couple of times already. I'll wait until somebody, uses their tools and finds where we wrote it down, because we wrote it down like 20 minutes ago. No, that's interest. I'm on percent of change. No, that's on simple interest. This is percent of change. Was the first thing we did today. All right, so those are 3 words. Tell me how to put them together. Percent of change. Then what? What about them? Percent of change equals what? Different and original. That doesn't help me. Different and original means difference plus original. Is that percent of change? Difference divided by original. Divided by original. Okay? So now let's look at this problem. Find the percent of change in population from 2000 to 2040 and predict what the U.S. population will be in 2050. Okay? So, What is my amount for the year 2000?
230.
That's actually an 8. 281. And what was my amount for 2040?
372.
372. So let's plug that in. My percent of change equals, how am I going to find my difference? What, Connor? I'm going to subtract them. 372 minus 281. And what was my original? 281. So what is 372 minus 281?
Your calculator. 91.
It's 91.
Yeah, I got it.
And that is divided by 281, and that gives me what?
Oh,
91 divided by 281.
0.32.
Okay, 3238. I'm going to call it, we're going to round it, 324. Okay? All right, so what percent is that? How do I write 0.324 as a percent? How do I change a decimal to a percent?
You go 2 times.
2 places to the right. So what? How do I write 0.324 as a percent?
32.4%.
Thank you. 32.4%.
Guessing.
Okay? So now this, if we look here, this is a pretty constant change, right? But this change was over 40 years. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps. So how much did it change each time? If it was a 32% change from here to here, how much of a change was it for each one? How would I figure that out?
32.4% divided by 4.
Yeah. I do 32.4% divided by 4, which gives me what? 8.1. So this was an 8.1% change. This was an 8.1%. This was 8.1%. This is 8.1%. So is it safe to assume that from 2040 to 2050 we'll have another 8.1% change? Okay. It's predictions. So how do I increase this by 8.1%? What am I going to add? But this is a number and this is a percent. I can't mix puppies and skunks.
You can't.
No.
Why not?
They smell horrible.
You done it. So you missed.
How do I, guys, I'm so happy that this is being recorded so your parents can hear how class goes. So, how do I find 8.1% of 372? We have notes and we did worksheets on how to find percent of a number. How do I find percent of a number?
How do I find 50% of 12? Well, 50% is the same as what? 5. So if you get 50, you can divide up 25%. What is 50% of the decimal? 0.5. I multiply 0.5 by 12.
Percent of a number.
0.0.
I'm going to take 372 and multiply it. I have to convert this to a decimal. 0.081. And what do I get? What do I get?
9.76.
No. 372 times 0.081. Yeah. It's 30.132. We're going to call it about 30. Okay? So, if my population in 2040 is 372 million, what is a reasonable estimate to be for 2050? How would I figure that out? Nope. How many people are we expected to have in 2040? 372 million. What's our prediction that our population is going to increase from 2040 to 2050?
400 million.
What is our prediction that it's of how much it's going to increase?
30%. 32.4%.
No, 32.4% was this right here. And we said each one of these was 8%. And then we figured out that 8% of 372 was about what?
30 million.
30 million. So, if we're going to add 30 million people to the 372 million that we have, I'm not done, so you're not done.
600.
If I have my 2040 population, and I add my predicted increase, I should have my 2050 prediction, right?
That's hard.
No, it's not. What's my 2040 population?
372.
What's my predicted increase?
30 million.
What's my predicted 2050 population?
200. 2,000.
Guys, add 372 plus 30.
400 to 3. You're welcome. It wasn't that difficult.
You know why it was difficult?
Because we don't pay attention.
Because you don't pay attention, and when you do pay attention, you're overthinking. You're making things harder than it is because you go, oh my God, there's numbers involved. I can't do it. Ah!
Not voicing it, though.
All right, I'm turning off the recorder.